less than a year into this administration, and the one thing that Joe Biden's presidency has already taught us is that he has no respect for life. We saw it when Biden checked his watch as the bodies of American soldiers were presented to grieving families, their lives cut short at the cost of his awful decisions in Afghanistan. And then he made it all about himself when he spoke to those Gold Star families, as one of those fathers recalls.
He talked a bit more about his own son than he did my son, and that didn't sit well with me.
And we see it in his war on the unborn, where he is pushing his DOJ to overrule Texas's abortion law that protects the lives of babies in the womb. Joe Biden sold himself as the empathizer in chief, but the last few weeks have shown Joe Biden to be anything but empathetic. Joining me now is former vice presidential candidate and Alaska Governor Sarah Palin. Welcome, Governor.
Thank you so much.
So as the mother of a veteran, tell me what you think about how Joe Biden, President Biden, has treated the military since he's been elected.
It's a shame. And those in the military who candidly, boldly express their opinion, they share that opinion that it is a shame that their commander-in-chief, their leader, would be so blasé about lives of America's finest who are serving something greater than self. They are serving people who have suffered underneath the hands of Joe Biden are very frustrated. I think a lot of them feel defenseless. They feel helpless even in wondering, hey, is the rest of America going to be outraged also and say enough is enough and do something about this? The collective rising up and actually doing something about the problems that the leftists are causing, including just decimating the morale, decimating the organization that is our military.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think a lot of Americans share what you just said. I think they really feel that way, and it's just not resonating with our media, who's trying to tell the story and turn the page. You know, I have to get back to what I said in my intro. I think Joe Biden was sold as the empathizer in chief and somebody with a lot of compassion. Now we see him in the Texas heartbeat bill. He's actually using his administration. He's using his DOJ to go after pro-lifers, people who are just trying to protect the unborn, trying to protect the disabled and those with special needs who are often the victims of abortion. What does all of this altogether say about Joe Biden's moral compass?
Well, do we see a pattern here? We do. He who would not embrace a culture of life, not understanding his Catholic faith even. Hey, where are the bishops in all of this, by the way? But his Catholic faith and any Judeo-Christian, even, agnostic beliefs in how important it is to protect the innocent, to protect the defenseless. Joe Biden, that doesn't resonate with him. And we see that in his pro-abortion stand. We see that in what he has done with Americans in Afghanistan. Some people are going to say this is a stretch, but it's not. We can equate this culture of death that has been accepted by too many on the left, that being snuff out the life of an innocent child in the womb. And we can see now a culture that is allowing others opportunity to create death around innocent people. Speaking of Afghanistan. So if Americans are good with this, then we're going to see it continue. And it is a slippery slope, and we can see what's coming next. But if Americans are saying, no, this goes against everything that we believe in terms of understanding human life and God's creation and the purposefulness of every child and every innocent person who happens to be abandoned in Afghanistan right now. Again, the two issues do correlate.
They do.
If enough people say we're not going to put up with this, then no longer will we have leaders. We will unelect these leaders who are creating this slippery slope we're on.
Yeah. Governor, I want to ask you about something else. There's another Catholic who's prominent and coming out against the heartbeat bill in Texas. Her name is AOC. She said this, and I want to get your reaction to it because it's a little bit kooky. Let me play the clip for you.
Don't don't know if he is familiar with a menstruating person's body. In fact, I do know that he's not familiar with a woman, with a female or menstruating person's body. I'm sorry we have to break it down on, break down Biology 101 on national television.
So, Governor, she's talking, I know, she's talking about Greg Abbott, but she's also talking about menstruating persons. This is, of course, the crowd that follows the science. I don't know about you. Do you know anybody other than women who menstruate or have babies?
Wow, AOC, she's really milking this, isn't it? She is such a fake feminist that she would bring up an issue like this and try to use it to make some kind of political point. That's not equality, right? Oh man, don't even get me started on this. This just makes my stomach sick what she has done. She should be embarrassed to even have tried to bring up an issue like that and make her political point. She's so off base politically, but off base even in this analogy or whatever it is that she's throwing out there. She's milking the whole female thing, and as a real feminist, I'm embarrassed for her.
Yeah.
A real feminist is one who knows that they are capable and they are equal. They are capable of doing a lot more than AOC gives women credit for. Yes, we can give life to a child and at the same time pursue education and pursue career and take care of our other children, or give a child up for adoption if we do not feel that we can take care of that child.
Right.
She has no idea. Her worldview is this big. She has no idea what it's like to be a mother of a special needs child, what it's like to be a mother of a veteran, what it is like to be the mother of a teenage daughter who finds herself in less than ideal circumstance. All these things that the rest of America, we do face, and we're able then to make judgments and make our decisions on those life experiences. She's got this much, and she's running the show.
Well, Governor, you have had all those experiences, and that's why people like you. You tell it like it is. Really am grateful that you would come on my show tonight. Thank you. Thank you, Governor.
You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.